Alright, this video is on a simple concept which is calculating the distance or the lengths between 2 points. Alright, this is for grade 10. There's two things you have to remember. There's a horizontal distance and a vertical distance. Alright, so if I had 2 points, for example this point and this point, and they were in line horizontally. Now if they were in line horizontally, you can calculate the distance between them by taking the x coordinate of the point to the right minus the x coordinate of the point to the left. So x right minus x left. So obviously you'd need to know these coordinates, so you'd know what the x value here and the x value there is, and then you'd minus them. If they were a vertical distance, so a point directly above or below each other, the distance or the length between them would be the top point, the y coordinate of the top point minus the y coordinate of the bottom point. Alright, let's check this out. Alright, so I've got an interesting question over here. I highly recommend you pause the video, just give it a go. It's fine if you don't know what is going on. Try it out. Alright, just have some fun with this. Alright, so the first thing is we're given the equation of a what is this? Sorry, it's a parabola and a straight line. We can use all of this information to find out all the coordinates on this. So before we do that though, let's just have a look at what's going on. Now they want you to first find the length of OC. So O is here and C is here. Is this a horizontal or vertical distance? So it's a vertical distance because C is directly above O. So how do I calculate the length? I need the y coordinate here minus the y coordinate here. So what's the y coordinate at the origin first? Alright, so that's gonna be 0. Alright, so the y coordinate at the origin is gonna be 0. So let's just start writing our answer. So the length, or basically the length or the distance OC, I have a habit of using distance. Alright, so the distance of OC is equal to, as we said, y top minus y bottom. Alright, so we already know that y bottom is 0 because that's at the origin. So just y top is what's necessary. So let's have a look now. C is what? C is the y-intercept of the parabola. So do we have the equation of the parabola? There's it here. Now it's not the way you're used to. If you want to reorder it, you can. Minus x squared plus 16. But the idea is that the q value is 16. So the value at C is going to be 16. So it's going to be 16 minus 0, which is 16 units. There you go. For the next one, determine the length of AB. So the length of AB. Now this is a horizontal distance. So you're going to take x right minus x left. So all you need now is x right and x left. So how do you get those? What is A and B? A and B are the x-intercepts of your parabola. So for x-intercepts, you let y equals to 0. So 0 equals to 16 minus x squared. X squared is equal to 16. Square root both sides. X squared is equal to positive or negative 4. So A should be negative 4 and B should be 4. So now x right in this case is going to be 4 minus negative 4, which is going to be 8 units. And that's my distance from A to B. The third question says, determine the values of A and B. What are A and B? They are these values here. So what they are asking you effectively is to get the equation of the straight line, right? Or well, you're going to get it in the process. Now, firstly, B is what? Is the y-intercept of the straight line. So here's it over here. The y-intercept is 8. So this is plus 8. If you want, you can just write down b is equal to 8, just so that you know you've answered the question. So y is equal to ax plus 8. Now, in order to get the a value, we need to substitute a point. Do you have a point on the straight line graph? Yeah, there's it over here. This intercept that you found of a is also the intercept of the straight line graph. So you can say -4 and 0. Sorry, let me just put this a little bit more to the left. So -4 and 0. So you'll put 0 is equal to -4a plus 8. So 4a is equal to 8. Divide both sides by 4a is equal to 2. So your a value is equal to 2. And the equation is y is equal to 2x plus 8. Alright, we're just making a note of the equation because it's probably going to be used later on. Probably. Right, the fourth question here now is going to be the coordinates of D. So what is D? What do you think? D is a point of a point of intersection. So you solve them simultaneously, alright? So simultaneously. So you can say 2x plus 8 is equal to the equation of the parabola, which is 16 minus x squared. If you move your x squared across, x squared plus 2x minus 16, so minus 8 equals to 0. And then you have to factorize your trinomial. So the factors of 8 are 1, 8, 2, 4. So you can say plus 4 minus 2. Yeah, so it will be x minus 2 and x plus 4. So x is equal, so x minus 2 is equal to 0, x plus 4 is equal to 0. So x has to equal to 2, so x has to equal to -4. Now this -4, well, why are there two answers? It's because the straight line intersects the parabola twice, once over here and once over here. So that's why we have two answers. So the -4 belongs here. We've already figured out. So the 2 will have to go here. So the x coordinate of D is 2. Now for the y coordinate, we can just take this and sub it into one of the equations. So either one. So if you substitute 2 there, it's 2 into 2 plus 8. So it's equal to 12. 12. Right. So the coordinates of D is 2 and 12. Alright. That should be fine right up until there. Let's just make a note of these before we take this to the next page. So coordinates of D we said is 2 and 12. Are there anything else we took down? No. Right, so let's just get okay, let's just write down the equation for this over here. So it's 2x plus 8. Alright, so let's just take this to the next page so we can work with it. Alright, so we're done with question 4. We're going to continue from question 5. Alright, so let's check out question 5 now. So question 5 says if OR, this length here, equals to 1. So if this length is equal to 1, what does that actually mean? That means the x coordinate at R is -1, sorry, is -1 because it's the negative x-axis, so that's -1. So everything above it should have the same x coordinate. So if you have this is -1 and something, and P is -1 and something. We just know that everything has to be -1. So R is going to be -1. Q is -1 and something, and P has to be -1 and something. All right, so because all the x coordinates on that vertical line have to be the same. Determine the length PQ. So they want the length PQ. Now automatically you start to say, all right, for number 5, the distance PQ is a vertical distance, so you obviously need y top minus y bottom, but you don't have the y coordinates at P or at Q. But P is on our parabola, it's on f of x. So I can take -1 that's there at P and find the y value. So this is 16 minus x squared. If I substitute -1 into this equation, I'm gonna have y equals 16 minus -1 squared. So y is equal to 16 minus 1, which is y is equal to 15. So y top is basically 15. But now Q is on G. So in my G function, which is 2x plus 8, I can take that same -1 and sub it there. So y is equal to 2 into -1 plus 8. So y is equal to -2 plus 8, which is going to be 6. Sorry, so -2 plus 8 is 6. So my y bottom value is 6. 15 minus 6 is going to be 9. And that's my answer there. Alright, well that's my answer there. So that's 9. Now, number 6. Number 6 says if PQ equals 8. So now PQ is this distance. So they're giving you the distance between the y values of the graph. Determine the length of OR. So what they're asking you basically is, remember how if we had OR, we had the x coordinates? So all they're asking is what's the x coordinates at those 2 points if the distance between them is 8 now. So how do you do that? So we're going to start the same way. The distance between PQ is equal to y top minus y bottom. But in this case, they're saying that the distance is equal to 8. And y top is our f of x. It's the parabola, and y bottom is our g of x. So if you say 8 equals to, the parabola is 16 minus x squared, and the g of x is 2x plus 8. So now we're basically working from here. So 8 is equal to 16 minus x squared minus 2x minus 8. So 0 is equal to minus x squared minus 2x. So the minus 8 from the left is gonna come over. It's gonna become sorry, the 8, my 8 from the left is gonna move over and become minus 8. So you've got minus 8 minus 8 minus 16 plus 6. Okay, that's all your constants cancel off. All right. You factorize the right hand side. You pull out a common factor of negative x. You'll be left with x plus 2. Then you can say x is negative x equals to 0, or x plus 2 equals to 0. So x equals to 0 or x equals to negative 2. So it's not gonna be this one because r is clearly on the left of the origin. This means that r would be above the origin or on the origin. So it's gonna be this one. So this is the x value that P and Q would have had to have for the distance between them to be, the vertical distance to be 8. So what's the length of OR? The length of OR is going to equal to 2 because it's 2 units to the left. Alright, so it's 2. Alright. The next question. Alright, for the next question, consider the function h of x is equal to f of x minus 7. Alright, so number 7a. Describe the transformation from f to h. So f of x minus 7. So all it's doing is 7 down. Alright, that's described. Write the turning point of h. So if it's moving down, so remember h of x is equal to f of x minus 7. So it's equal to 16 minus x squared minus 7. So it's basically 9 minus x squared. Alright, 9 minus x squared. So now what's the turning point of this graph? So this is your q value. Remember, it's basically minus x squared plus 9. So your q value is 9. So the turning point has to be 0 and 9. So basically from 16 it moved down 7 units, and that's the new turning point. Alright, then they want you to get the x-intercept. So x-intercept like y equals 0. So negative x squared plus 9. X squared equals to 9. Square root both sides. So x is equal to negative or positive 3. So the x-intercepts are going to be negative 3 and 0 and 3 and 0. Alright. Lastly, they want the equation of the axis of symmetry of f. So f is a parabola, as you're seeing here. It can be cut straight down the middle, and a vertical line straight down the middle is given by the equation x equals to